And welcome to the third and final day of Capitol Hill Ocean Week 2017. I'm your host, Kate Thompson, coming to you live for Capitol Hill Ocean Talk. With so many issues vying for our attention through so many platforms these days, it can be hard to know where to look and where to focus our efforts. And on the flip side, as conservationists, it's always a challenge to reach new audiences with stories that will compel people to act. Today, I'll be talking with 3 individuals who are using new technologies and tools to get the word out about ocean conservation. Joining me today in the studio is Charles Littman, lead scientist for NOAA Fisheries' Hawaiian Monk Seal Research Program. Charles has spent the last 15 years conducting research on the biology and ecology of endangered Hawaiian monk seals and developing new tools to inspire positive change for this species. I'm also joined by Liz Weinberg, social media coordinator and writer for NOAA's Office of National Marine Sanctuaries. Liz uses digital media to educate people all over the world about our nation's National Marine Sanctuary system. She's usually behind the scenes here at Capitol Hill Ocean Talk, answering your questions on Twitter and Facebook. Also in the studio with us today is Kiata Zuccarino-Crow, the Tourism and Recreation Coordinator at NOAA's Office of National Marine Sanctuaries. Through technology like virtual reality, Kiata educates the public about responsible recreation opportunities in national marine sanctuaries. Don't forget to be part of our conversation by tweeting us questions with hashtag #Chow2017, and we will answer them live on the show. Thank you, everyone, for joining me in the studio. And Liz, it's great to have you on this side of the camera.
Nice to be here.
So, Liz, you're doing all kinds of great things to engage more people in conservation and get them excited about the ocean. Why is social media such a useful platform for this?
So when you think about the ocean, it's already sort of out of sight and out of mind. And National Marine Sanctuaries, that problem is compounded. When you go to a national park, you drive in on the road, it has a sign that says you are now in this national park, and you know you're there. With sanctuaries, we don't have that. You can get into them any number of ways. And so people will be in sanctuaries and not realize that they're there and that these places are protecting the ocean. So social media helps us reach those people and teach them about our National Marine Sanctuary system. It lets us reach the kid in Montana who doesn't know that the watershed that they care about from their mountains is actually connected to the ocean. Social media helps us reach, say, the teacher in Boston who doesn't know that there's a sanctuary right off the shore that could engage their students. And it helps us really get people into sanctuaries through images and videos. We have what we call Earth is Blue, which is our campaign where we share a photo every day and a video every week to really get people into the ocean and into the Great Lakes and into their sanctuaries to raise awareness and to inspire ocean conservation.
So Kiata, how do you take it past just a photo or a video? Because obviously it's compelling, but it doesn't make you feel like you're getting wet, doesn't make you feel like you're on a dive. You've recently launched a virtual dive gallery of the National Marine Sanctuaries. You know, what is special about this gallery and why is it different than other virtual reality projects?
Well, the really exciting thing we feel is its accessibility, because we're hosting these 360-degree views of national marine sanctuaries, inviting people to go on a virtual dive. Instead of having it on a special app that people need to download, anyone that has internet or a data service can dive into their national marine sanctuary, take a virtual dive as if they were there, just by going to our website. And that's really exciting because I feel like we've really improved an opportunity to really engage and you know, dive under the water and see what sanctuaries look like and these beautiful resources that we're trying to protect. So they hopefully get inspired by the awe of the beauty of these places and want to engage more on stewardship issues.
Well, it's interesting. I know that you've done these virtual reality galleries. There's one here at Capitol Ocean Week. I know you've done it at a film festival down in Gray's Reef. And when you see people doing it, they're like, oh my gosh, wow, look at this. I think you brought some goggles for me.
I wanted you to be able to check it out.
Check it out? Okay, all right, let's see. Don't laugh, everybody. All right, here we go. Oh my gosh. Wow, you really feel like you're there. This is crazy.
So you're not as wet or salty.
Yeah, exactly. That's my problem when I'm
so jet lagged.
is I get the salt all over me. Holy smokes. That is so cool. And that's Big Mama, I think. I've been diving there.
Yeah,
it's a pretty
in the
awesome
National Marine
place.
Sanctuary of American Samoa.
Very, very cool. Very, very cool. It's huge. It's the largest coral head in the world.
I think
at
42
least
feet
found
in
anyway.
circumference.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's like, I think it's like 40 feet down and it almost goes all the way to the surface. It's pretty amazing. So what applications and issues do you plan to use or pursue next with these virtual dives?
So, we use them as a way to, bring attention, raise awareness, et cetera. So we've been working more closely with the Office of National Marine Sanctuaries education team to integrate it in some of the outreach programs we do, like Ocean Guardian Dive Club. So students that are learning about scuba diving, but not actually getting to get into the water yet, can get a glimpse of what they'll get to see when they're actually able to dive eventually. And we pair that along with messages of how to be a responsible diver or a responsible recreator in sanctuaries. Some of the images, for example, show areas that have gone through coral bleaching. And what's really great about these is you're in there and you can see in person what it looks like when a whole reef is bleached. But the really great thing is then with the click of a button, you can fast forward 6 months and see whether that reef has rebounded or if the coral has actually died. So we have some examples in different sanctuaries where those types of issues have been a challenge.
So Liz, the Office of National Marine Sanctuaries has been experimenting with some new ways to get our word out there. Social media has been around for a little while now, and here we are on Oceans Live, but it takes a lot to do this production and to go live for people. Well, Facebook has taken in another step recently with launching Facebook Live. Can you tell us how we use Facebook Live and what have we used it for?
Sure. Well, we're actually using it right now. So we are broadcasting this show through Facebook Live. So if you've got questions, you can ask them to us on the air. But we've used it in a number of different ways. We've used it to share the science on the sphere, which is a teaching tool where you can see whole data sets on a big globe. We've used it to give people a tour of Hawaiian Islands, Humpback Whale National Marine Sanctuary's visitor center. So if you can't get to Hawaii, we can still take you there. And we've also used it to do some dissections of invasive lionfish. And the great thing about Facebook Live is it is interactive, so people can ask questions in real time. So if we've got a scientist on air, they can ask questions that they wouldn't necessarily be able to ask if they're not in the sanctuary. And it gives that interactivity, which I think is really key.
Well, we actually have a clip of one of your live streams. Let's go ahead and watch it, and then you can tell us a bit about what happened.
Sure.
Open up the fish. Here in the back, this kind of shiny material is the swim bladder. We have some intestinal fat, this white stuff here, and the liver that we're going to push away. So what's interesting is that lionfish have voracious appetites. They tend to eat a lot and as much little native fish as they can. And what we're starting to see is that lionfish are fat. They're actually obese because they're eating so much and have this, this isn't too bad, but some lionfish have gobs and gobs of intestinal fat when you open them up.
So Charles, you've spent a decade researching endangered Hawaiian monk seals and trying to help this species recover. Have you managed to engage the public with any of that recovery?
Yeah, it's critical. So we're facing in Hawaii, they used to be up in the Papahanaumokuakea Marine National Monument, so very remote. They recently have recolonized the main Hawaiian Islands, which is great for a conservation success story, but brings a host of challenges with generations of people that have grown up with no seals there. You have the typical things you get with marine mammals. So you have concerns about fisheries interactions, concerns about monk seals eating everything. And so our focus is not so much recovery of the species or trying to save them in the main Hawaiian Islands, it is creating a culture of coexistence. So virtually everything we do is engaging local communities in order to dispel myths, teach people how to behave around seals if they see them on the beach and the likelihood. So a big part of what we do is using technology in creative ways to try to garner trust, inform people, and move people towards sort of shaping that behavior that we want to see.
So at what point in the research process do you try to engage the public?
So we have learned from mistakes that I think the general scientific model is scientists go out, they do their work, and then they come back with the results. So it's a scientific paper, or basically you end up going into a community and saying, here's the reality, this is how things are, and do something with it. And that, particularly with science, which can be a little bit of a black box for people that aren't classically trained to interpret data. So they're mistrustful initially, particularly when you're talking about livelihoods and things for fishermen. So we have blown up our model, and now it's engaging scientists or engaging the public at the time when we're going to start conceiving of a project throughout. They can participate with us when it works for their schedule, but then having students analyze data with us and all these things, so that when we go back to communities, they've sort of swung the entire arc with us through the whole process. Trust what we're doing, and then we have students that are backing up our interpretation of data, and then we're therefore trustworthy.
So obviously monk seals are right there on the beach,
Yep.
and people use the beach. So have these engagement efforts helped to protect the monk seal population at all?
Yeah, I mean, we still have a way to go, but I think the sort of one of the biggest things that we've done is you can educate people on the beach or hold them back from interacting with them. I think one of our biggest concerns has been the perception of monk seals as intruders, both into the ecosystem and onto the beach. And so letting people know that this is a place for monk seals to sleep, let them be. But we do have people that have lashed out and caused physical harm for seals and stuff, and that's where sort of using technology to, much like the cameras that you use, letting people see the seal's eye view of what they're doing in order to blow up some myths that they have about monk seals eating everything.
Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about your critter cam footage? We have there's a shot right there of the actual camera on the monk seal.
It's a lot smaller now.
It's a lot smaller now. But we have this great clip that you shared with us of a monk seal actually eating an octopus, I think.
Yes.
There he goes.
We went to a lot of public meetings, and we would talk to fishermen, and monk seals are like other seals, they're fat. And so it's very understandable that when you see this large animal, 400 or 500 pounds haul out next to you when you're fishing, the perception that, oh my God, they must be eating everything.
Yeah.
And so we would hear things that monk seals were eating 600 pounds of fish per seal per day, that they were moving across the ocean like locusts. And we could talk about diet studies using SCAT. We could show satellite tracking. We could talk about the physiology of the animals and how this is impossible, and the community just wasn't really buying it. So with our partnership with National Geographic on this project, we knew that critter cams would be we all have grown up, or many of us have grown up watching television. We're very visual creatures. The great thing about these cameras is you don't have to tell anybody what's going on. The community, the fishermen in the community become their own scientists. So if you're saying that monk seals are eating everything, I don't have to argue with you when I can show 2 hours of footage.
Right.
And you see monk seal eat one thing. Then from this camera, we know that they pass up 600 things for every one thing that they eat. So it's been critical in shaping or shifting people's perceptions about seals.
Yeah, it's amazing to be part of. It's like virtual reality right here.
Yeah.
I mean, we are swimming with the monk seals. It's amazing. And then what Liz was doing with the Facebook Live post earlier was they were actually dissecting the lionfish, right? So that actually helps us to bring awareness to what was going on. So in that clip, real quick, can you tell us what Michelle was showing us?
Sure. So that was Michelle Johnston at Flower Garden Banks National Marine Sanctuary, which is located in the Gulf of Mexico. And the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic are having an issue right now with invasive lionfish. They're from the Indo-Pacific. They are supposed to be there, but they are now in these areas. And lionfish have voracious appetites. They will eat everything, and they reproduce really quickly. But whenever we try to educate the public about it, we sort of hit some issues, similar to the monk seals, where people think, oh, well, but if they're there, they're supposed to be there. And why won't you just leave them alone? But the fact is that they're decimating the biodiversity of these reefs. So what we did is we did a Facebook Live of a lionfish dissection so that Michelle could actually hold up these fish and say, here's what the issue is with them, here's what their characteristics are. And when she dissected the stomach, you can see the contents and you can see all of the fish that it's eaten. And you can also see just how fat they are, because they eat so much. They have no natural predators in these areas. And the nice thing about Facebook Live too is that people from the public were asking questions. So all of those questions that we would normally hit about aren't they supposed to be there and that kind of a thing, she could answer in real time. And it's a scientist, so she's, there's a little bit of buy-in from, here's a scientist handling this fish who is spending tons of time in the water, getting to know what's going on with this invasive species.
When I think like seeing really is believing, perfect illustration with the monk seal cameras, animal cams, so they can see for themselves, and then taking it a step further, where people are interacting while they're seeing
Definitely.
and believing it. Or on a virtual dive, they can turn around, as though they were there and be like, this is really one of the most beautiful places on the planet, and I really want to go there, and I want to protect it for future generations.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So speaking of that, is it helping? Do you think the new technologies are helping in raising awareness and pressing environmental issues?
I think absolutely, and I think the big point that you guys touched on is it removes that abstraction, right? It actually makes it very, even though they're not there, it's very tangible, right? And so, people can use their own critical thinking then. I mean, it just connects them in a way that we haven't been able to, that you don't get from a textbook or even social media posts, your standard ones or whatever. It is, I do believe they're game changers.
Right.
The ability to bring these places and these issues to people where they're at, online, on social media, digital areas. The world's changed, so being able to bring these issues straight to them, or people who might not have access, like you said earlier, to ocean places in order to learn about why they might want to care about it, even if they live inland.
Right, and it cuts through some of the noise, because there are so many messages bombarding us constantly, but if you have something like critter cam footage where you're putting these monk seals right in front of people and they get to basically be a monk seal for a moment, it causes a moment of pause in a person's day where they're actually able to think and reflect about these really special places and these special animals that we need to be protecting.
So speaking of which, Kiara, you are the travel and tourism coordinator. So these places, they aren't shut off to people, correct?
No,
I mean, we do
really-
have monk seals on the beach, but yet we still promote.
We really want people to
enjoying
visit
it.
because that's why these places are protected, so they can be enjoyed for this and future generations. I think the real teachable moment then is once they know those places are there and they're aware that they can go there, then that's our opportunity to also share messages with them about why it's important to stay back from a monk seal, or why you don't want to just leave your plastic on the beach, et cetera. And it gives us the opportunity then to engage on some of these stewardship issues. But we still want them to come and enjoy it. It's really important for ocean conservation and gateway communities to also see the value in this. And people see value in things that they love and that they want to pay money to go see as well. So I think it helps kind of build a culture of appreciation and stewardship.
And we do in the Pacific have some that are not accessible. So,
Right.
Papahanaumokuakea, incredibly remote island chain that has rich biological resources, but there are also cultural resources there. And so our big thing is, bringing the monument to the people and not the people to the monument, because we just can't.
Yeah.
And so, doing with some of these images, and we're going to build on the idea that with this virtual reality stuff, start trying to do some 360 videos.
Really
and things.
excited to work together
Yeah,
more.
it's going to be great. But bringing Hawaiians up to, there's two islands, Nihoa and Mokumanamana, which are rich in Hawaiian tradition, but just can't be accessed but by very few people. And so bringing those images back and having them be able to, eventually hopefully walk around in a 360 sort of environment and touch something that is important to a culture is incredibly valuable as well.
Right. So there's lots of tools in this toolbox, the technology toolbox, but we also have, speaking of raising awareness of the ocean, this week at Capitol Hill Ocean Week, we've launched our new issue of the Earth is Blue magazine. Through this magazine, we're celebrating the communities of our National Marine Sanctuary system. In it, you'll find gorgeous photos and captivating articles of everything from the many aquariums that highlight our sanctuaries to the efforts to save coral reefs in American Samoa. Plus, the magazine includes a poster about how shipwrecks harbor marine communities, and because we're talking about lionfish, we actually put a recipe in it for lionfish Zacatecas. So you can actually get some lionfish at your local Wegmans or Whole Foods store randomly, but check it out. You can check it out online at sanctuaries.noaa.gov/magazine. Plus, it'll be coming soon to a sanctuary visitor center near you. So thank you all for joining me today, and thank you so much for joining me here in the studio and following along through social media and other platforms, such as Facebook Live. You can check out the Sanctuary's virtual dive gallery at sanctuary.noaa.gov/VR and follow the NOAA Office of National Marine Sanctuaries on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr. I also want to extend a special thank you to our signature sponsors, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, Vulcan Incorporated, the Walton Family Foundation, and our co-host sponsors, the Campbell Foundation, the Gordon and Betty Moore Foundation, and the Ocean Foundation, because without their support, the success and accessibility of Capitol Ocean Week would not be possible. Coming up next at 11 a.m., Capitol Hill Ocean Week will continue with the discussion about the global plastic pollution crisis. Then we'll be back at Capitol Hill Ocean Talk at 12:30 with our panel on how to farm a better fish. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you at noon.